Okay, let's look at this final. The first one we are going to do, is graph. You can use your calculator if you want, but we're going to go to the right 5. And it's a regular stretch. So over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4. Because this is in vertex form, all ready to graph. Now, to find the equation of the inverse, you switch the x and y and solve for y. So it would be x equals the square root of y minus 5 squared. Square root both. Don't forget your plus or minus the square root of x equals y minus 5. So y equals, add 5 to get it all by itself, 5 plus or minus the square root of x. It does say equations of inverse, so that is what I was looking for there. If you only did the positive ones, I'm on the fence. I would have had to have you ready for this to tell you exactly what I would have wanted if this was the real final. Because in the graph, the inverse, I think you probably should have graphed the whole thing. You switch those ordered pairs. So it was at that neck. Remember, it was over here. So instead of 5, 0, it'd be 0, 5. And then I think you probably should have graphed it like this. But then what happens here, strangely enough, is they ask you for the domain and range, and this is then function notation, and this is not a function. So if you would have graphed it like this, I would have accepted that as well if you would have restricted the domain. So I'm on the fence about what to do on that. And then that could give you different answers for this as well. But the domain of the first guy up here, this one, is negative infinity to positive infinity. And the range would be square bracket here, 0 to infinity. There's no max, but there is a minimum. The minimum value is at 0. So then when you look at this guy, the domain and range will switch, if you remember. So this will be the 0 to infinity, and then the negative infinity to positive infinity, because it goes up or down forever, but does not go left or right. There's then no max or no min. And the reason I said the domain could potentially change if would have been here and here, and that would have happened. That would have happened if you would have just cut half of this so that you could have just done the top half of the inverse. Not a doubt anybody did that, but that one I would have had to prep you a little bit better for. So I'm sorry that's how it started. Okay, f of a plus b says go to function f, take out the x, and plug in a plus b in its place, which means you will have to distribute, because when you take that out and put it in, you get 3a plus 3b plus 2. The 3 gets distributed here, not here. G of f of x means you take the 3x plus 2 and you plug it into function g where the x was, which means you will double distribute the 3x plus 2. Do not tell me that's 9x squared plus 4. If you did, I'm going to really get you on that next year in Algebra 3. 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2, double distribute 9x squared plus 6x, which is plus 12x plus 4. H of a to the 8 means go to function h, take out the x, put in the a to the 8. Go ahead and simplify that. That would be like 8 a to the 1/2 if you want to think of it that way. You multiply and it's a to the 4th. A logarithm is an exponent, so it equals the exponent. The base goes here and the other number goes here. Okay, the matching. These two guys are going to go to the logarithms. The logarithm is the exponent. So this one goes with c. The base is x. The other numbers are. Is the exponent equals the exponent here. Base is r. The number is 2. So this one is e. On this one, you would subtract your exponents. R to the x over r to the 1, r to the x minus 1. This one, you could do r to the 2x to the 1/2 if you wanted to. Multiply those. It'd be just r to the x. Oh, they didn't do that. They actually, is just what I wrote down there. They could have said r to the x, but that's not what it says. So this answer is A. And then this one, you add the exponents whenever you multiply. Okay. If you know that functions are inverses of each other, they undo each other. So remember, it does something to machine and undoes it, and it's just like a big tunnel, and you're just going to get 7 when it pops back out. This one to me is one of the hardest. I first would have rewrote this as 3 to the 6, a to the 6 over 5 to the 6. I think this will be the most commonly missed. And then everything on top gets the plus and everything on bottom gets the minus. Remember the magnet rule. So you would have a 6 log 2, 3. This will get a plus because it's being multiplied on the top. A 6 log 2a. And then the minus on the bottom, 6 log 2, 5. Okay, I think that will be a tough one. On this guy, you can just set them equal to each other because look, log 4 of 3x minus 2. If I set that equal to log 4x by adding the log 4x, then 3x minus 2 will have to equal x. So negative 2 equals negative 2x, divide by negative 2, and x equals 1. 16x will equal 1. This guy here, log is the exponent. Log base 2.15 of 12 will equal x. Log, you'll have math. I think it's, what is it, under here maybe? Maybe math. There it is. Log base, enter 2.5, and then 12 here. Okay, and they want you to round it. So make sure you round it properly. I don't know what it said. 3 decimals. Okay, without using a calculator means you're going to use multiply, divide, and exponents to change these to fun facts. So this will be a log base 4 of 5 times 3, which is a log base 4 of 5 plus the log base 4 of 3, because multiplication becomes addition, which will be 1.2 plus 0.8. That was the first thing we did when we went to e-learning, this test, I remember. Log 4, 20 minus log 4, 3, but 20 is not a fun fact, but 4 times 5 is. So log base 4 of 4 plus log base 4 of 5 minus log base 4 of 3. Log base 4 of 4 is 1 plus 1.2 minus 0.8, 2.2 minus 0.8, what's that, 1.4? I think 1.4. Okay, these guys are just going to add and subtract, multiply these functions. F of x plus g of x will be 2x minus 5 plus negative 3x plus 2. Just combine like terms, negative x minus 3. F of x minus g of x, you will have to subtract all the pieces, which means you will distribute that negative 1. So that'll be a plus 3x and a minus 2, which is a 5x minus 7. F of x plus h of x will just be combining like terms. And I'll have an x squared plus 2x minus 9. When you multiply f of x, 2x minus 5, times g of x, negative 3x plus 2. We don't usually get a negative when we multiply, so that's, why did I do that? So that's a little different than normal. So be careful with the negative sign. But I got negative 6x squared plus 4x, I'll go ahead and write it, plus 15x minus 10, negative 6x squared minus 19x minus 10. That looks like a 6, but Mrs. Bruno is sloppy. Oh, dogs. Where are we at? Okay, factored form polynomial. Leading coefficient is 2, negative 2, sorry. And the roots are 1, so x minus 1, and x plus 4, and an x minus 5. Just change those signs. And then they want you to use the same thing in standard form, so multiply it all out. Let's do this first. How about an x squared minus x minus 20? And then this would be a negative 2x plus 2. And we be careful. Negative 2x to the third minus 2x squared plus 40x plus 2x squared minus 2x minus 40, I think. So negative 2x cubed, those 2x squares will cancel. Maybe a plus 38x minus 40. I might have made a mistake there. I got a little sloppy. But that's what you do on that problem. Find the roots and domain of these guys. Ooh, this has been a minute. Did we do this? Yeah, I think we did. I hope we did. The roots of this would be 4 and negative 3. Domain is negative infinity to positive infinity because there's no risk factors. I don't know if we did this. I know I did it in algebra 3. The roots here come from up top. I don't think we did this. I think you guys will have a hard time with this. I'm sorry. The roots come from up top. You would factor, that's an x plus 7 and an x minus 2. So the roots are negative 7 and 2, and the domain would be x cannot equal 4. I don't know if I taught you that, actually. Maybe I did. If you got it, gold star. If not, no one's keeping track. This guy is an x plus 4 and an x plus 2. There's no way I taught you this, which means you might say the root is negative 4, but down here I'm going to tell you that x cannot be negative 4 or negative 2, so it's really not a root, and there's no roots on this one. I think that I accidentally forgot to delete those questions from your final, so I'm sorry. Solve by factoring. Well, this one's already factored. Easy. This is easy. N equals 0 and n equals negative 4. This is also factored. Just set each piece equal to 0. X equals negative 4/3 and 5/2 by getting 0 by itself. Solve the quadratic. Get 0 on one side, or this one, look, I can just get v by itself. 4v squared is 268. What's 268 divided by 4? I'll find out. 268 divided by 4. 67. Don't forget you should be getting two answers here. So v squared is 67. So square root both sides, and you get plus or minus the square root of 67. On this one, you'll get 0 on one side, and then factor or quadratic formula. 61 equals 0. So maybe I'm going to complete the square. So it's an n minus 8 squared, which would be 64. And I need to get to a negative 61. So I got to subtract all the 64 and then 61 more. So 64 plus 61 is what, 125? Okay. You could do quadratic formula here too if you don't like that. Okay, solve it. N minus 8 squared equals 125. Square root both sides. This did factor, I guess. N minus 8 equals... No, it didn't factor. What's that? 25 times 5, which is 5 root 5. N minus 8 equals plus or minus 5 root 5. And then add the 8. I'm sorry. N is 8 plus or minus 5 square root of 5. You would have had tons of practice on this, though, if it was the real final. That's nice to go back over it. 33. This one I would do quadratic formula because the 9 there and the leading coefficient, I would do quadratic here. Negative b plus or minus square root. B squared minus 4. A times c is 48. All over 2a, which is 8. Negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 80. I'm using my calculator in my hand here, so don't. 81 minus 4 times 48. Negative 111 over 8. So negative 9 plus or minus. 3 goes in there, but it's 3 times 37, which is not a perfect square. So I squared of 111 all over 8. And the last ones, we just factor. GCF here, all have a 2 in common. V squared plus 11v plus 18, and then that's a 9 and a 2. v plus 9v plus 2. These have an n squared in common, which just leaves me with an n minus 6. Not too bad. And these all have this. Does 24 go into 162? Nope. That's 12. Just 2. Okay, so 2 goes into all these. 12m squared plus 81m. I bet 6 went into all of them. Let's try that. 162 divided by 6. Yeah, it was 6. So that's 4m squared plus 27m minus 40. And what do you think? Go down further. We can try AC. That'd be minus 160. I don't know that it... 1 and negative 160. 2 and negative 80, not it. 3 doesn't work. 4, negative 40. 5 and negative 32. That's it. Negative 5, positive 32. Yeah, that's hard. Okay. So this will be an m minus 5 and an m plus 32, but we're going to have to put the 4 back. So then what do I have? I have a 6, the 4m minus 5, and then there's a 4 in common here, which would be an m plus 8, but you have to throw out that 4. And then the m plus 8. That was tough. That was a tough one. Okay. And then this last one has a 3 in common, which would be an 8u cubed plus 1, and then that is a difference of 2 cubes. So it's a 2u and a 4u squared, a plus 1 and a plus 1, multiply them together, change the sign, which is the minus 2u. Okay, there's some tough questions there, but that was just a review of everything. If you got some of them right, I'm proud of you. If we would have prepped for them, some of you could have done well on this. But that's it. We did it. Super proud. All right, goodbye.